Hey folks, as many of you know, Hays County has been under siege with regards to water and weather for several years now. From droughts to floods, nearly every citizen in the county has been affected in some way, including right here in Kyle. But what many don't realize is that the weather is only half the battle. The other half is going on right now at the state capitol because outside interests have targeted our community, and our elected officials desperately need you to be aware of what's going on. This story is about groundwater, and it starts 2.5 years ago when a company called Electropurification tried to exploit a glitch in the way we monitor the water in our aquifers.
The community near Wimberley and Driftwood learned quite suddenly about this groundwater project that was going in an unregulated area.
You could drill through the Edwards portion of the aquifer that was regulated into a completely unregulated piece of our aquifer system here in Hays County that was simply operating under the rule of capture, meaning as much water that you can pump out, you can use and transport to wherever the market drives you.
I mean, the fear is that all of the neighboring landowners' wells will go dry, and the longer you pump, the larger that cone of depression will expand, so that they'll, over time, just be more and more wells further and further out that would be impacted.
The Blanco River is a spring-fed river. The San Marcos River is a spring-fed river. All our natural resources here in Hays County are spring-fed by groundwater.
The more and more that's pumped, the higher the likelihood that, that surface water flows in the Blanco could be impacted.
Up until recently, the rule of capture had been a long-standing law in Texas because the people in our state have always fought to protect their rights as property owners, and drilling for water to use on your own land is certainly something that should be allowed in most cases. But groundwater is not simply a commodity like coffee or copper. It's a vital natural resource that is critical to the survival and flourishing of any community. Drilling into an aquifer to extract and sell water should never be done without any oversight or consideration for how that well will impact the surrounding community. And that's precisely what Electropurification tried to do. In response, in 2015, citizens in Hays County organized to form Save Our Wells, a group whose primary focus was to help pass legislation to extend the boundaries of the Barton Springs-Edwards Aquifer Conservation District into the remaining unprotected areas of Hays County. After a very long battle, House Bill 3405 was passed. But just over a month ago, a host of bills were proposed at the Capitol that appeared to be very intentionally undermining the Save Our Wells bill. At the center of it all is Needmore Ranch, a 5,000-acre property located just east of Wimberley and 10 miles west of Kyle. Needmore Ranch is owned by Greg LaMantia, a generationally wealthy beer distributor whose company is headquartered in McAllen, Texas. LaMantia recently applied to pump 289 million gallons of water per year from the Trinity Aquifer using a well located on his property. That permit request faced stiff pushback from neighbors, Representative Isaac, Senator Campbell, and has been scrutinized by the newly expanded Barton Springs-Edwards Aquifer Conservation District because a monitoring well experienced significant drawdown during the testing phase of the application. And that's really where things get interesting. Needmore Ranch has rebuffed the data using a host of methods that should be deeply concerning to anyone who cares about the water supply in Hays County. First, Needmore retained a powerful law firm to dispute both the science and the authority of the Barton Springs District. Second, the state senator who represents McAllen, Mr. Chuy Hinojosa, recently filed 2 bills aimed at allowing the Needmore Ranch to come out from underneath the authority of the Barton Springs District. One of the bills would allow Needmore to switch from being under the Barton Springs District to the much weaker Hays Trinity District. The other, scarier bill, would allow Needmore to break free from any independent oversight and become its own conservation district. Just think about that. And third, a House bill was filed by San Antonio Rep. Philip Cortez that will allow ranches the size of Needmore to request permits without notice or opportunity of hearing. And if you're wondering, why would bills like this be filed from legislators who don't represent our district? The answer is, I don't know. What really matters here is how our community views its natural resources and how we can respond. When it comes to the Trinity Aquifer, massive permits that disregard the science of how water mining could impact the aquifer must be fought. The Trinity is not limitless, and the Needmore permit, if fully utilized, is clearly dangerous.
289 million gallons a year for agricultural use is absurd. The issue is that it could dewater the aquifer, that the pressure in the aquifer would basically cease to exist. Within 7 years, there could be as much as 140 feet of drawdown. It's unreasonable. If they pumped that amount, it would flood the ranch in like 2 inches of water. I don't know, maybe they want to grow rice, but from Needmore's shoes, I think the most plausible explanation is that they would like to be in a district that has weaker regulations and that doesn't really have financial capacity to fight back. There's another bill by Senator Hinojosa that would allow them to basically become their own groundwater district.
And what happens then?
They can write their own rules.
I mean, that's completely irresponsible and frankly ridiculous. You can't manage a small piece of a greater asset and do it in a responsible way.
People who live in Kyle, I'm sure, really enjoy and value the hill country too. I mean, it's right there. So at some point, we're all going to have to find a balance between what is reasonable and what is sustainable.
We all need to make sure that we do a good job of managing those resources as Texas grows from 26.5 million people that we have today to a projected 55 million people. If you don't have any water, that beautiful piece of property that you have is not worth $500 because it's just a piece of dirt.
I think our way of life in the hill country is going to change. Can you imagine going to the hill country and not being able to like jump in Jacob's Well or swim in the areas of the Blanco that have water right now, and that water is coming from the Trinity Aquifer?
There is a bright side to this story. Representative Isaac has filed his own legislation called the Heart of Texas Aquifer District Bill. He's trying to do away with the patchwork of districts governing the Trinity Aquifer and wants to create a single district that governs the entire aquifer, similar to the way we manage our rivers. Send Jason a message letting him know you support his bill, or share this video and help spread the word. It's great to know we have legislators who, on this issue, have been listening to the people and want to ensure that our water is protected for generations to come. I'm Travis Mitchell. Thanks for watching. God bless.